pressure the president is going to feel on this front, I think, is so much different than North Korea. You're going to see congressional Republicans and a lot of Democrats. I mean, today, Joe Lieberman, Evan Bayh put out joint statements today about their feelings on Iran. It was a very hawkish statement, very sort of a message to the president about getting tough. There could be bipartisan bills that come out of Congress with a lot of teeth, a lot of sanctions in it that could just pop up as a bill for the president to sign before he can make any headway, frankly, when it comes to what he's trying to do, this P5+1. And then when you have this line in the sand that the president sort of drew on for next week, but then said, well, they have a few weeks. So, you know, look, it depends on what the Iranians do. Do they show up, number one? And do they agree to some basic things that these 6 nations have been asking for them for, starting with allowing for some inspections by the International Atomic Agency.
Well, speaking of the testing and the sites, let's take a look at these pictures of the alleged uranium enriching facility in Iran. They were released by the Institute for Science and International Security. The first is from March 2005. And the second is from January of 2009. I don't know what we can tell from that. I certainly can't tell anything from that. But Jamie, let me ask you, Chuck was talking about the domestic politics aspect of it here in the United States. Joe Lieberman, Evan Bayh. Let me ask you, what do you think the situation is in Tehran? They've gone through a summer of unrest based upon the elections and the street riots. Who's in charge in Iran? Is it Ahmadinejad, who is no longer the craziest guy in town? We saw that, you know, the guy from Morocco is even crazier. Libya is even crazier this week. Or is it the Ayatollahs in Iran? Who's running that country?
Well, 2 points. First of all, after this crackdown this summer, it's clear that President Ahmadinejad has more power than he did in his last term. The collective leadership that existed in Iran for many, many years, decades, is now split, with the most extreme members of that collective leadership, led by the leader, Mr. Khamenei, and now President Ahmadinejad, fully in charge, and the more moderate, so-called conservative, true conservatives, some of the clerics, a number of the businessmen, etc., the more reasonable ones are now in opposition to this government. So this is the most extreme government in Iran that's ever existed. People will argue they've always been extreme, but I think it's clear this is the most extreme government. It's clear to me, at least, what is going to happen at this meeting next week. Iran has already made clear they're going to go in there, they're going to allow inspections of this facility sooner or later, and they're going to say this is another example of our peaceful nuclear energy. This is an enrichment facility that the White House paper makes very clear is not a military facility. It's enriching up to 5%, which is the energy level. It happens to be, and this is quite interesting, at a Republican a Revolutionary Guard facility. So it's showing the potential military capabilities here. But the dilemma hasn't changed. They say they can do enrichment at this 5% level, and the international community says no, and that's the problem.
Okay. Jamie Rubin, as always, thank you. Chuck Todd, as always, thank you.